Admiral Jack Morrison stood at the huge window of Luna Station, watching Earth slowly turn below him. The blue and green planet looked peaceful, just like it had for the past 200 years since humans joined the Galactic Coalition. Most aliens thought Earth was weak. They saw humans as good traders and smart engineers, but terrible fighters. Morrison knew better. His office door opened with a soft hiss. Commander Lisa Grant walked in, carrying a datapad that glowed red. Red meant urgent. Red meant trouble. "Admiral, we have a problem," Lisa said. Her voice was calm, but Morrison could hear the worry underneath. "Captain Ryan Bell sent this from the Outer Rim. The Zephyrians are moving." Morrison took the datapad and read quickly. The Zephyrian Empire had been quiet for months, but now their ships were gathering near human space. Lots of ships. More ships than anyone had seen in one place before. "How many?" Morrison asked. "Over 800 warships, sir. They're massing at the edge of the Kepler system. Intelligence says they're planning to attack our colonies." Morrison was not surprised. The Zephyrians had been conquering worlds for 10 years. They were big, mean, and loved to fight. Their ships could turn entire planets into glass with their plasma weapons. Most species in the galaxy feared them, but humans were different. Humans had been preparing. Morrison walked to his desk and pressed a hidden button. A secret panel opened, showing a single red switch. Next to it were the words Protocol 7 written in small letters. "Sir?" Lisa looked confused. "What is Protocol 7? "Something Admiral Patricia Hayes created 30 years ago," Morrison said. She knew this day would come. She knew the galaxy would need to see what humans could really do. Lisa had heard stories about Admiral Hayes. She was a legend, a woman who understood war better than anyone, but she had died before Lisa joined the fleet. "The Galactic Council won't help us," Morrison continued. "The Altarians think they can solve everything with logic. The Vesperians only care about making money. They'll tell us to talk to the Zephyrians, try to make peace. Or will you try talking first?" Lisa asked. Morrison laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "The Zephyrians don't talk. They take what they want. They've studied our tactics for years. They think they know how humans fight, don't they?" Morrison looked at Lisa for a long moment. She was a good officer, smart and loyal, but she had never seen humans really fight. Nobody in the galaxy had, not for 2 centuries. "No," Morrison said. "They don't know anything." Meanwhile, across the solar system, Captain Danny Smith was hiding his ship in the shadow of an asteroid. The Silent Wind was Earth's best spy ship, invisible to most sensors. Danny had been watching the Zephyrian fleet for 3 days. The enemy ships were huge and black, like metal sharks floating in space. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Danny counted them again, 812 ships. The biggest invasion fleet in galactic history. His communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, looked up from her console. "Captain, we're getting a coded message from Earth." Danny read the message twice. Then he smiled. "Sarah, send a reply. Tell them the count is confirmed. Tell them Protocol 7 is approved." "What's Protocol 7, sir?" "You'll find out soon enough," Danny said. "For now, just know that the Zephyrians picked the wrong species to mess with." Back on Luna Station, Morrison was meeting with his top officers. The room was full of the best military minds Earth had produced. Commodore Frank Turner, a man who had spent 40 years studying alien warfare. Chief Engineer Tony Martinez, who could make ships do impossible things. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez, whose knowledge of human military history was unmatched. "Ladies and gentlemen," Morrison began, "the Zephyrians are coming. The Galactic Council refuses to act. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are." Amy Rodriguez stood up. She was small but fierce, with eyes that seemed to see everything. "Sir, our analysis shows the Zephyrians expect us to fight like other species. They expect us to meet them head-on, ship against ship." "That's not going to happen," Morrison said. Tony Martinez grinned. "The quantum displacement drives are ready, Admiral. All ships have been secretly equipped. We can appear anywhere in a star system instantly." Frank Turner nodded. "The Zephyrians have never seen technology like this. No species has quantum displacement except us. How long before they attack?" Morrison asked. Lisa checked her datapad. "Intelligence suggests they'll move in 72 hours. They want to hit 3 colonies at once, New Texas, Haven, and Prosperity." 3 targets, Morrison mused. "They're spreading their forces thin. Perfect." Amy Rodriguez opened her tactical display. It showed the human colonies, the Zephyrian fleet positions, and something else. Red dots scattered throughout space, too small for enemy sensors to detect. "What am I looking at?" Frank asked. "Armed merchant ships," Amy explained. "For the past 6 months, we've been placing disguised warships throughout our territory. They look like cargo haulers and mining vessels. The Zephyrians have been watching them, cataloging them as non-threats." Morrison smiled. "How many?" 240 ships, sir. Each one armed with the latest human weapons. Each one crewed by our best people." The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone understood what this meant. Humans had been pretending to be weak while secretly building the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. "The Zephyrians think they're hunting sheep," Morrison said. "They don't realize they're walking into a wolf pack." Tony Martinez brought up another display. "Sir, there's something else. The new weapon systems are ready. The Zephyrians use energy shields that can stop any known weapon, but our kinetic accelerators fire solid metal at incredible speeds. Their shields can't stop matter moving at near light speed." "Railguns," Frank said with appreciation. "Old human technology made new again." "The aliens abandoned kinetic weapons centuries ago," Amy added. "They think energy weapons are more advanced. They forgot that sometimes the old ways are the best ways." Morrison walked to the window again. Earth looked the same, peaceful and quiet. But he knew that was about to change. Soon the galaxy would see what humans were really capable of. "Activate Protocol 7, he said quietly. "Send the signal to all ships. Tell Captain Smith to keep watching the enemy. Tell our people to get ready." Lisa typed the commands. Across human space, secret messages went out to hidden ships and disguised weapons. The galaxy thought humans were peaceful traders. In 72 hours they would learn the truth. The Zephyrians were coming to conquer Earth. Instead, they were about to face the most lethal fleet in galactic history. Captain Danny Smith pressed his face against the viewing port of the Silent Wind. The Zephyrian fleet stretched out before him like a dark metal forest. Each ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Their hulls were black and covered with weapon ports that glowed red in the darkness of space. "Count again," Danny told his sensor officer. 817 ships, sir," came the reply. "They added 5 more dreadnoughts overnight." Danny shook his head. The Zephyrians were serious about wiping out humanity. Their flagship alone was 3 miles long and carried enough plasma cannons to melt a moon. These were not traders or explorers. These were killers. Lieutenant Sarah Kim looked up from her communication station. "Captain, we're picking up Zephyrian transmissions. Their commanders are discussing human tactics." "Put it on speaker," Danny said. The bridge filled with harsh, growling voices speaking in the Zephyrian language. Sarah's computer translated their words into English. What Danny heard made him angry. "The humans will probably surrender without a fight," one voice said. "They are weak creatures who fear death. If they do fight, they will use standard coalition tactics," another voice replied. "We have studied their methods for years. They are predictable and emotional. Their ships are small and poorly armed," a third voice added. "This will be over in hours." Danny turned off the speaker. "Sarah, record everything they say. Command will want to hear this." Meanwhile, thousands of miles away on Earth, Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez was in her underground office, surrounded by books about human wars. Real books made of paper, not digital files. She believed that sometimes old knowledge was the best knowledge. Amy was reading about a battle from Earth's ancient history. A small force of Greeks had held off a massive Persian army at a place called Thermopylae. The Greeks lost that battle, but they taught their enemies that some fights cost more than their worth. "Amy?" Her assistant, Major Kevin Price, knocked on her door. "Admiral Morrison wants to see you." Amy grabbed her jacket and headed upstairs. Morrison's office was busy with officers planning for the coming battle. Maps and tactical displays covered every surface. "Amy, tell me about chaos theory," Morrison said without any greeting. Amy smiled. This was her favorite subject. "Every species in the galaxy fights the same way, sir. They make plans, follow rules, and try to minimize losses. It's logical and predictable. But humans are different. Humans embrace chaos," Amy said. "We improvise. We take crazy risks. We do things that make no sense to logical minds. Other species think this makes us bad soldiers. They're wrong. It makes us impossible to predict," Morrison nodded. "The Zephyrians have studied every human battle for the past 200 years. But those battles were fought using coalition rules." "Exactly, sir. We've been hiding our true nature, playing by their rules, fighting their way. But humans didn't become the dominant species on Earth by being predictable. Chief Engineer Tony Martinez walked into the room, wiping grease from his hands. Admiral, the quantum drives are working perfectly. I've tested them on 12 ships so far. We can move an entire fleet across a star system in seconds. How? Morrison asked. Tony's eyes lit up. He loved explaining his inventions. Quantum entanglement, sir. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Most species gave up on the theory because it seemed impossible. But humans are too stubborn to accept impossible. The aliens think faster than light travel requires weeks or months to calculate, Amy added. Their computers need time to plot safe courses. Our quantum drives don't care about safe. They just go. Morrison looked at a star chart showing human colonies. Red markers showed where the Zephyrians would attack. Blue markers showed where human ships were hidden. Tony, how many ships have the new drives? All of them, sir. Every ship in the fleet plus all our disguised merchant vessels. 450 ships total. Morrison's communication officer interrupted. Sir, incoming message from Captain Steve Johnson on New Texas. Put him through. Captain Johnson's face appeared on the main screen. He was a big man with a gray beard, the kind of person who looked calm even when the world was ending. Admiral, the civilians are asking questions. They can see Zephyrian ships on the edge of the system. When do we start the evacuation? Morrison smiled. Steve, there won't be an evacuation. Johnson looked confused. Sir? Trust me, Steve, keep the people calm. In 3 days, this will all be over. After Morrison cut the connection, Amy leaned forward. Sir, the people deserve to know what's coming. They'll know soon enough, Morrison said. Right now, I need the Zephyrians to think we're helpless. Fear makes people act naturally. If our colonists knew we were planning to fight back, they might not seem scared enough. Meanwhile, in the Outer Rim, Commander Maria Santos was commanding a convoy of ships leaving the Haven colony. To Zephyrian sensors, it looked like humans were running away. The ships appeared to be cargo haulers and passenger transports, fleeing in panic. What the Zephyrians couldn't see was that each cargo ship was actually a warship in disguise. The passenger transports were filled with Marines and assault craft. Maria's convoy wasn't running away. It was getting into position. Commander, her tactical officer said, Zephyrian scouts are following us. They think we're refugees. Perfect, Maria said. Let them think that. When the time comes, they'll learn what human refugees really look like. Back on Luna Station, Admiral Morrison was having a private meeting with Commodore Frank Turner. Frank was an old soldier who had seen more battles than anyone else in the fleet. Frank, tell me honestly, can we win this? Frank was quiet for a long moment. Jack, I've been studying war for 40 years. I've read every tactical manual written by every species in the galaxy. And I've learned something important. What's that? Everyone else fights to win. Humans fight to survive. When you're fighting to survive, you'll do things that would never occur to someone who's just trying to win. Morrison understood. The Zephyrians want to conquer us. We want to make sure they never threaten anyone again. Exactly. They're thinking about territory and resources. We're thinking about making sure our children have a future. Frank pulled up a tactical display showing the Zephyrian fleet. Look at their formation, Jack. Perfect order, everything by the book. They'll approach our colonies in standard attack patterns. They expect us to meet them with our own formations. But we won't. No. We'll hit them in ways they can't imagine. Ways that go against everything they know about warfare. Morrison's door chimed. Amy Rodriguez entered carrying a thick folder. Sir, I've finished the psychological profile of Zephyrian military leadership. They're proud, hierarchical, and extremely disciplined. They follow orders without question and expect their enemies to do the same. Weaknesses: they can't adapt quickly to unexpected situations. Their command structure is rigid. If we can disrupt their communications and eliminate their senior officers, their forces will become confused and ineffective. Morrison opened the folder and read Amy's analysis. The Zephyrians were dangerous, but they were also predictable. They had never fought an enemy like humanity. Amy, what do you recommend? Hit their command ships first. Use tactics they've never seen before. Make them afraid. Fear will make them stupid. Tony Martinez's voice came over the intercom. Admiral, all ships report ready. The quantum drives are charged and waiting for your orders. Morrison looked out at Earth one more time. Tomorrow, the Zephyrian fleet would begin its attack. They expected to find a weak species ready to surrender. Instead, they would discover that humans had been preparing for this moment for decades. They would learn that Earth's merchants and traders were actually the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The Zephyrians thought they were hunting sheep. But sheep don't hide weapons. Sheep don't plan ambushes. Sheep don't fight back with the fury of creatures defending their young. Tomorrow, the galaxy would see what happened when you threatened humanity's children. Tomorrow, Earth's most lethal fleet would finally strike. Grand Admiral Kethmore stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Death's Edge. Through the massive viewing window, he could see his fleet stretching into the darkness. 823 warships, the largest force ever assembled by the Zephyrian Empire. Kethmore was 12 feet tall, covered in black scales with red eyes that glowed like coals. His species had conquered 47 worlds in the past century. They had never lost a major battle. Today would not be the first time. Admiral, his tactical officer hissed. Human ships are fleeing from all 3 target systems. Our scouts report massive evacuation efforts. Kethmore's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. What humans might mistake for a smile was actually an expression of contempt. Cowards, he growled. They run before we even attack. Orders, sir? Split the fleet into 3 groups. Take the colonies quickly before the humans can organize a defense. This will be over in hours. The Zephyrian fleet began to separate. 270 ships headed toward New Texas. Another group of similar size moved toward Haven. The rest followed, Kethmore toward Prosperity. What Kethmore didn't know was that Captain Danny Smith was still watching from his hidden position. The Silent Wind had been tracking the Zephyrian movements for days, recording everything. Sarah, Danny said to his communications officer, send a coded burst to Luna Station. Tell them the enemy is dividing their forces exactly as predicted. On Earth, Admiral Morrison received the message while eating breakfast in his quarters. He had barely slept in 3 days, but his hands were steady as he read Danny's report. Morrison activated his personal communicator. All stations, this is Morrison. Execute Protocol 7, repeat, execute Protocol 7. Across human space, ships that had been hiding for months suddenly came alive. Merchant vessels that had been hauling cargo revealed weapon systems. Mining ships that had been digging asteroids powered up military-grade engines. Passenger transports opened their holds to release clouds of attack fighters. Captain Steve Johnson was on the bridge of what looked like a simple cargo hauler near New Texas. When Morrison's signal came through, Steve smiled and turned to his crew. Gentlemen, time to drop the act. Bring us to battle stations. The ship transformed around them. Fake hull panels fell away, revealing armor plating. Hidden weapon ports opened like deadly flowers. The cargo hold became a launch bay for attack craft. This is the Earth's hammer, Steve announced to his crew. Today we show these aliens what humans can really do. Similar scenes were happening throughout human space. What the Zephyrians thought was a panicked evacuation was actually the largest military deception in galactic history. Commander Maria Santos was leading the fake refugee convoy away from Haven when her orders came through. She opened shipwide communications. All ships, this is Santos. Drop the disguises. Let's go hunting. 20 cargo ships became 20 destroyers. 5 passenger transports became assault carriers. The convoy that had been running away suddenly turned around and headed straight for the approaching Zephyrian fleet. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez was in the tactical center on Luna Station, coordinating the attack. Her screen showed hundreds of human ships appearing on sensors across 3 star systems. Admiral, she called to Morrison. All units report ready. The enemy still thinks we're merchants and refugees. Morrison nodded. Amy, remind me why the Zephyrians have never lost a battle. They're bigger, stronger, and better armed than most species. They use overwhelming force and direct attacks. But sir, they've never fought humans before. And what makes humans different? Amy smiled. We cheat. On the Death's Edge, Kethmore was studying tactical displays when alarms began sounding. His sensor officer turned from his console with confusion in his large eyes. Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the human ships. The cargo vessels are changing. What do you mean, changing? Sir, they're revealing weapon systems. Heavy armaments, military sensors, armor plating. These aren't merchant ships. Kethmore's red eyes narrowed. Impossible. Our intelligence shows the humans have only a small defense fleet. Sir, we're now counting over 400 human warships across the 3 target systems. They've been hiding in plain sight. For the first time in his long military career, Kethmore felt something he had never experienced before: uncertainty. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Tony Martinez was in the engine room of the Luna's Pride, Morrison's personal flagship. The quantum displacement drive was humming with power, ready to move the entire ship across space in an instant. "Tony," Morrison's voice came through the intercom, "are you ready to show them something they've never seen?" "Yes, sir," Tony replied. "The Zephyrians still don't know about our quantum drives. They think we're limited to conventional faster-than-light travel. How many ships can we move at once?" "All of them, sir. Every ship in the fleet can quantum jump simultaneously. The enemy won't know what hit them." Morrison was on his bridge watching the tactical display. The Zephyrian forces were spread across 3 systems exactly as Amy had predicted. They were strong, but they were also divided. "Frank," Morrison said to Commodore Turner, "what's our biggest advantage right now?" "They think they understand us," Frank replied. "Every tactical manual they've studied shows humans fighting defensively, trying to minimize casualties. They expect us to set up defensive positions around our colonies. But that's not what we're going to do. No, sir. We're going to attack them in ways that violate every rule of civilized warfare." Captain Rachel Stone was commanding a squadron of attack ships near the Prosperity system. Her ships were hidden behind a gas giant, invisible to Zephyrian sensors. When her orders came through, she felt her heart rate increase. Rachel had studied every major space battle in galactic history. She knew that most species fought with honor, following established rules of engagement. They protected their own ships, avoided unnecessary risks, and tried to achieve victory with minimal losses. Humans were about to throw all those rules away. "All ships," Rachel announced, "prepare for ramming attacks. Set collision courses with enemy command vessels. We're going to hit them so hard they'll think a star exploded." Her pilots responded immediately. These were humans who had been pretending to be peaceful traders. In reality, they were some of the best combat pilots in the galaxy, trained in tactics that other species considered insane. Commander Pete Anderson was leading another squadron near New Texas. His ships were disguised as mining vessels, but each one carried enough firepower to level a city. "Pete," his wingman called over the radio, "the Zephyrians are entering attack formation. They're heading straight for the colony." "Perfect," Pete replied. "They're focused on the target. They won't see us coming until it's too late." Pete's squadron began moving using the mining equipment as cover. To Zephyrian sensors, they looked like civilian miners trying to flee the battle zone. The enemy ships ignored them completely. Back on the Death's Edge, Kethmore was becoming increasingly frustrated. His tactical officers were reporting strange readings from human space, but nothing made sense. "Admiral," his intelligence officer reported, "we're detecting massive quantum fluctuations throughout the human colonies. Energy patterns we've never seen before." "What kind of energy patterns?" "Unknown, sir. Our computers cannot identify the source." Kethmore turned to his weapons officer. "Begin the attack. Target the colonial defense centers first. Show these humans the price of defying the Zephyrian Empire." As the first Zephyrian plasma blasts reached toward human colonies, Admiral Morrison gave the final order. "All ships quantum jump to attack positions. Show them what Earth's most lethal fleet can do." Across 3 star systems, space itself seemed to twist and bend. Human ships appeared from nowhere, materializing in perfect attack formations around the scattered Zephyrian forces. The Zephyrians had come to hunt sheep. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by wolves. The first thing Grand Admiral Kethmore noticed was the silence. One moment, his fleet was advancing toward 3 human colonies in perfect formation. The next moment, his communications board was filled with screaming. "Admiral!" His sensor officer's voice cracked with panic. "Human ships are appearing everywhere. They're surrounding us." Kethmore spun around to look at the tactical display. Red dots representing human ships were materializing out of nowhere, like stars being born in the darkness. In seconds, his mighty fleet went from being the hunters to being the hunted. "How many ships?" Kethmore demanded. "Over 400, sir. They're using some kind of instantaneous travel technology." Captain Rachel Stone's attack squadron appeared directly above the Zephyrian command group, near Prosperity. Her ships dropped out of quantum space, moving at incredible speed, aimed directly at the enemy flagship. "All ships execute ramming pattern Delta," Rachel announced calmly. "Remember, we're not here to win pretty. We're here to win." Her pilots responded without hesitation. 12 human ships dove toward the massive Zephyrian dreadnought like bullets fired from a gun. The enemy tried to turn their weapons toward the attackers, but the humans were moving too fast and too unpredictably. The first human ship struck the Zephyrian vessel's communication array, destroying it in a ball of fire. The second ship hit their main sensor cluster. The third ship crashed directly into the bridge. In space warfare, ramming attacks were considered suicide tactics used only by desperate crews with no other options. Most civilized species never attempted them because the cost in lives was too high. Humans had turned ramming into an art form. Commander Pete Anderson was leading his squadron in the New Texas system, where 270 Zephyrian ships had expected to find easy targets. Instead, they found themselves under attack from all sides. "Target their command ships first," Pete ordered. "Cut off the head and the body dies." His ships were armed with kinetic accelerators, weapons that fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. While the Zephyrians had energy shields that could stop plasma and laser weapons, they had no defense against chunks of metal moving at near light speed. Pete's first shot punched completely through a Zephyrian cruiser, from bow to stern. The metal projectile kept going and hit another ship behind it. "One shot, 2 kills. How do you like our old-fashioned weapons?" Pete muttered as he lined up his next target. Meanwhile, Commander Maria Santos was attacking the Haven system with her disguised convoy. What had looked like refugee ships were now revealing themselves as some of the most advanced warships humanity had ever built. "Deploy the wolf packs," Maria ordered. From her ships came swarms of small attack craft, each one piloted by a human with nothing to lose. The Zephyrians tried to target them with their massive weapons, but the human fighters were too small and too fast. The attack craft swarmed over the enemy ships like angry insects, targeting weak points in the hull and weapon systems. Within minutes, the largest Zephyrian ships were helpless, blinded and unable to defend themselves. On Luna Station, Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez was coordinating the battle from the tactical center. Her screen showed all 3 combat zones with human ships appearing and disappearing like ghosts. "Admiral," Amy called to Morrison, "the quantum drives are working perfectly. We can redeploy our forces faster than the enemy can react." Morrison nodded grimly. "What's our status?" "Zephyrian casualties are already at 30%. They're trying to retreat, but our ships are following them wherever they go." "Any human losses?" 17 ships destroyed, 43 damaged. "The pilots who performed ramming attacks, they didn't make it, sir." Morrison closed his eyes for a moment. Those pilots had known they wouldn't survive their attacks. They had done it anyway because that's what humans did when their families were threatened. "Make sure their names are remembered," Morrison said quietly. On the Death's Edge, Kethmore was watching his empire's greatest fleet being torn apart by creatures he had thought were weak and cowardly. His tactical displays showed Zephyrian ships exploding faster than his computers could count them. "Sir," his navigation officer called, "we need to retreat. The humans are using weapons and tactics we've never encountered."
"No!"
Kethmore roared. "We are Zephyrians. We do not retreat." But even as he spoke, another one of his command ships exploded under human fire. These weren't the defensive battles his intelligence reports had described. The humans weren't trying to protect their colonies. They were trying to destroy every Zephyrian ship in space. Captain Danny Smith was still watching from his hidden position when he received new orders from Admiral Morrison. "Danny, time to reveal yourself. Show them what the Silent Wind can really do." Danny smiled. His ship had been designed to spy on enemies, but it was also equipped with the most advanced weapons humanity had developed. "Sarah, power up the quantum torpedoes. Let's introduce the Zephyrians to some more human technology." The Silent Wind decloaked directly behind the Death's Edge. Before the Zephyrians could react, Danny fired 6 quantum torpedoes at point-blank range. The weapons were based on the same technology as the quantum drives. Instead of moving ships through space instantly, they moved explosive energy directly inside enemy vessels. The Zephyrian shields were useless against weapons that appeared inside their own hulls. Kethmore felt his flagship shake as explosions erupted throughout the ship. Systems failed, lights went out, and the smell of smoke filled the bridge. "Damage report," he demanded. "Sir, we've lost main power, weapons, and life support. The human attack damaged our core systems from the inside somehow." For the first time in Zephyrian history, their most powerful ship was helpless. Captain Steve Johnson was commanding his squadron near New Texas when he received a priority message from Admiral Morrison. "Steve, the Zephyrians are trying to send a distress signal to their home fleet. Stop them." Steve's ships moved to intercept the enemy communication vessels. These ships were trying to escape the battle to warn other Zephyrian forces about human capabilities. Not today, Steve said. His squadron used quantum jumps to appear directly in the path of the fleeing ships. You wanted to see what humans could do. Now you know, but you're not going to tell anyone else. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Zephyrian invasion fleet had been completely destroyed. Out of 823 ships, only 12 managed to escape by surrendering immediately and begging for mercy. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the tactical displays showing the aftermath. Burning Zephyrian ships drifted through space like dead leaves. Human rescue teams were already moving to save any survivors. Admiral, Commodore Frank Turner said quietly, "We did it. We stopped them." Morrison nodded, but he wasn't smiling. "Frank, this was just the beginning. When word of this battle reaches the galaxy, everything will change." "How so, sir?" "For 200 years, everyone thought humans were weak. They treated us like junior partners, cute little creatures who were good at building things but couldn't fight. Today, we showed them the truth." Amy Rodriguez joined them on the bridge. "Sir, initial casualty reports show we lost 87 ships and over 2,000 crew members. But we destroyed an invasion force that could have conquered half the galaxy." Morrison looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species were about to learn that humanity was not the peaceful, harmless race they had believed in. "Amy, send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them the Zephyrian threat has been neutralized. Tell them Earth is no longer asking for protection." "What should I say we want instead, sir?" Morrison's expression was hard as steel. "Tell them we're taking our rightful place as the galaxy's dominant military power. Tell them the age of human weakness is over." The galaxy was about to learn that Earth's most lethal fleet had been hiding in plain sight all along. 3 weeks after the battle, Admiral Jack Morrison walked into the Great Hall of the Galactic Council on the planet Nexus Prime. The chamber was enormous, with seats for representatives from over 300 species. Today, every seat was filled. The air hummed with nervous energy. Alien voices whispered in dozens of languages as Morrison made his way to the center of the room. He could feel thousands of eyes watching him, some with fear, others with curiosity, and a few with barely hidden anger. The Altarian Chancellor, a tall, blue-skinned being with large black eyes, called for order. "Admiral Morrison of Earth, you have been summoned to explain the destruction of the Zephyrian invasion fleet." Morrison stood calmly in the center of the room. He wore his simple human military uniform, looking small compared to the massive alien delegates around him, but his voice carried clearly through the chamber. "Honorable delegates, 3 weeks ago the Zephyrian Empire sent over 800 warships to attack human colonies. They intended to conquer our worlds and enslave our people. We stopped them." The Vesperian trade representative, a creature that looked like a giant insect, clicked his mandibles angrily. "You didn't just stop them, human. You destroyed them completely. Only 12 ships survived out of 800. This was not defense. This was slaughter." "You're right," Morrison said without emotion. "It was slaughter, but not the slaughter the Zephyrians planned." Murmurs filled the chamber. Many species had feared the Zephyrian Empire for decades, but they had also respected their military power. The idea that humans could destroy them so completely was shocking. The Corithian ambassador, a reptilian being with golden scales, leaned forward. "Admiral, our intelligence suggests your species has been hiding advanced military technology. This violates the Coalition Treaty on Technological Sharing." Morrison smiled coldly. "Ambassador, the treaty requires us to share peaceful technologies. These weapons were never peaceful." Meanwhile on Earth, Captain Danny Smith was leading a tour of Luna Station for visiting alien diplomats. The same station that had been humanity's peaceful space dock for 2 centuries was now revealed as a massive military fortress. "As you can see," Danny explained to the nervous delegates, "our shipyards have been producing warships for decades. We simply disguise them as cargo vessels and mining equipment." A small, furry delegate from the Moralian Federation raised a trembling paw. "Captain, why did humans deceive us for so long?" Danny stopped walking and looked at the alien with sympathy. "Because we learned something important from our history. The strong prey on the weak. The only way to have peace is to be too dangerous to attack. But the Coalition has kept peace for centuries through diplomacy." "Has it?" Danny asked. How many species has the Zephyrian Empire conquered while the Coalition talked about diplomatic solutions? How many worlds have been burned while you held meetings? The alien had no answer. Back on Nexus Prime, Morrison was facing increasingly hostile questions. The Veldorian representative, a tall being made of living crystal, spoke with a voice like breaking glass. Human, your species has revealed itself as militaristic and deceptive. How can the galaxy trust you now? Morrison looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces. You're asking the wrong question. The question isn't whether you can trust us. The question is whether you can afford not to. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Several delegates stood and began shouting at once. The Altarian Chancellor called for order, but the noise continued. Morrison raised his hand, and somehow his quiet gesture commanded attention. The chamber slowly fell silent. For 200 years, humanity has been the galaxy's junior partner, Morrison said. We built your space stations, fixed your ships, and traded fairly with everyone. In return, you treated us like children who needed protection. Because you were weak, the Corithian ambassador hissed. No, Morrison said firmly. Because we chose to appear weak. There's a difference. He activated a holographic display that showed star charts of the galaxy. Red markers indicated Zephyrian conquest over the past decades. While you held diplomatic meetings, the Zephyrian Empire conquered 47 worlds. They enslaved billions of beings. They were planning to conquer the entire galaxy, one system at a time. And what did the Council do? The chamber was silent. Nothing, Morrison answered his own question. You talked. You negotiated. You hoped the problem would solve itself. Commander Lisa Grant was in her office on Luna Station, reviewing reports from across human space. The aftermath of the battle had brought unexpected changes. Species that had never taken humans seriously were now requesting defense treaties. Others were demanding explanations for decades of deception. Admiral Morrison's speech is being broadcast across the galaxy, her aide reported. Every major news network is covering it, Lisa nodded. What's the reaction? Mixed, ma'am. Some species are angry about being deceived. Others are relieved that someone finally stopped the Zephyrians. The Terran stock market has increased by 300%. And the military situation? 17 species have requested mutual defense pacts. The Altarian Republic is offering to share their sensor technology in exchange for our quantum drive specs. The Vesperian Consortium wants to negotiate new trade agreements. Lisa smiled. Fear was indeed a powerful motivator. On Nexus Prime, Morrison was nearing the end of his address. Honored delegates, humanity is not asking for your approval. We're informing you of a new reality. And what reality is that? The Altarian Chancellor asked. That Earth is no longer a junior member of this coalition. We're no longer asking for protection or permission. From today forward, humanity will defend its own interests and those of our allies. The Vesperian representative stood up. Are you threatening us, human? Morrison looked at the insect-like being calmly. No threats are necessary. The Zephyrian Empire thought they could threaten us. You saw what happened to them. But they were aggressors, another delegate protested. They attacked first. Yes, Morrison agreed. And now they're gone. Completely. Their home fleet surrendered without firing a shot when they heard what happened to their invasion force. The Zephyrian Empire no longer exists. The chamber was dead silent. Every delegate understood the implications. If humans could destroy the most feared military force in the galaxy, what could they do to other species? Captain Helen Price was establishing the new Terran Forward Command on the edge of human space. Her ships patrolled the borders, making sure everyone knew that humanity's territory was now clearly marked and heavily defended. Commander, her sensor officer reported, we're detecting a Corithian fleet approaching our border. 12 ships, military configuration. Helen smiled. Open a channel. The face of a Corithian captain appeared on her screen. His golden scales were pale with nervousness. Human vessel, this is Captain Zethkor of the Corithian Defense Force. We request permission to enter human space for diplomatic purposes. Permission denied, Helen said politely. But you're welcome to state your business from your current position. We wish to discuss a mutual defense treaty. I'll pass your request along to Earth Command. Please remain outside our border until you receive a response. Helen cut the connection and turned to her crew. 6 months ago, the Corithians wouldn't even return our diplomatic messages. Now they're begging for our protection. Meanwhile, Captain Sam Williams was dealing with a different kind of visitor. A Zephyrian delegation had arrived at the edge of human space, flying ships marked with white flags of surrender. "Admiral," Sam reported to Morrison via quantum communication, "the remaining Zephyrian leaders want to negotiate a surrender treaty." Morrison's image appeared on Sam's screen.
What are they offering?
"Complete submission, sir. They want to become a human protectorate. They're offering their remaining planets, their technology, even their military ships." Morrison considered this. "What do they want in return?" "Permission to continue existing, sir. They're terrified that we'll hunt down their remaining fleets." Morrison was quiet for a moment. "Tell them we'll consider their offer, but make it clear that any future aggression will result in the complete elimination of their species." "Understood, sir." Back on Nexus Prime, Morrison was concluding his historic address. "The galaxy is entering a new age. An age where humanity will no longer hide its true capabilities. We spent 2 centuries learning your ways, studying your weaknesses, and preparing for this moment." The Altarian Chancellor spoke carefully. "Admiral, what does humanity want from the galaxy?" Morrison looked around the chamber one final time. "Peace through strength, fair trade agreements, respect for our sovereignty, and assurance that no species will ever again threaten human civilians. And if these conditions are not met..." Morrison's expression didn't change, but somehow his presence seemed to fill the entire chamber. "Then you'll discover that the Zephyrian fleet was just a demonstration. Earth's most lethal fleet is still out there, still watching, still ready to defend humanity's interests." As Morrison left the chamber, the galaxy began to understand its new reality. For 2 centuries, humans had been the galaxy's helpful neighbors, building and trading and keeping to themselves. Now everyone knew the truth. Humanity had been preparing for war while hoping for peace. They had built the most advanced fleet in galactic history while pretending to be